Hey everyone, just doing a quick follow-up video to the video I did last week, and if you watch it, I was not in a particularly good mood or good place. I had some stress happen to me, and everything's okay now, but at the time, what I was feeling was a lot of, when I think about like the type 4 and how, or any number, that you can go to your integration number, but the low end of it. So, like, for example, 4s integrate to 1, but in stress, I find myself picking up some of the negative qualities of the type 1. So I can become judgmental and critical, and also extremely self-shaming, and then feeling like I'm this terrible kind of weird, kind of terrible, incompetent person. And it's very type 1. That it is interesting how close the 4 and the 1 are to each other. But sometimes I get these feelings like someone will mention something, like a writer or a film or something, and I'll look at it, and if I have some really negative opinion on the issue, I feel compelled, the 1 in me feels compelled to say something. Like, I've never been shy about saying, a lot of the books put out by the New York publishing houses are a lot of shit. I mean, I've never been for MFA programs and this kind of cookie cutter thinking, and but that's not what this video is about. So I had somebody who had mentioned some writer who I don't even remember the name of, and I looked it up, and it was just terrible. It was verbose and wordy and overwritten, and there's no poesy. It was just, it's literally like anyone can write sentences and call themselves a writer, and then they get a book published if they know the right people. And it really irritated me, and I felt the need to say, how I know, I look at something, if my eyes start going into skim mode instantly, because I can tell it's just too many words, I'm like, okay, this is shit. And I felt compelled to say, this is just what I'm seeing is shit. And my goal in doing that is not to start an argument or to be a contrarian, but the type 1 in me feels the need to say something, because then I sit there and think, if I don't say at least something about it, there's gonna be somebody who also thinks what I think, but is too afraid to come forward and say it. Like, a lot of times when I have voiced a dissenting opinion about, say, a certain writer, I might get somebody approach me privately in some way saying, thank you for saying that. I thought the same. I just was afraid to say it, or I thought I was the only one who thought it was crap. And that's why I do it, for those few people who may feel alienated and like, no, it's not you. It actually is crap. But then what happens is there's a part of me then that after I say it, I feel like an asshole. And I sit there and I go, God, I'm such an asshole. Like, everyone else here is raving about this whatever, and I have to be like, yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. And I have to fucking, rain on the parade. And I hate doing that, but at the same time, I feel like I'm compelled to do it. Like, I have to at least say something, and my goal isn't an argument. Like, I'm not a type 8 who just is okay with this kind of confrontation, but I wouldn't say I avoid it completely. I make my opinion, and then I'm like, okay, I said what I said. Anyone else, you can, contact me and we can talk, but I'm not here to argue. I'm not trying to convince you. So it's like noticing that type 1 in me, the criticism, feeling the need to speak up about it, because I'm like, look, this is all about, what's right and wrong and justice. And it's like, I need to say something, because I want to share what I think, because if I don't, There's going to be someone else who's too afraid to do it. So, but at the same time, it comes with a cost. It can a lot of times, this is why you'll never find me on literary boards. I don't go to literary groups. I will never go there because all I would do is argue with people, and that is not that would waste my energy. I don't like that. I don't care. No. So I'm like, I gotta do my own thing. And I just released an old collection of mine from 2006. I'm gonna put a link. And these are early stories that are a lot of ways kind of precursor to my longer novels. But, for you're a young writer starting out, you can, if you wanted to look them over as kind of like templates to see where I started from. Because this is why when I release something, I always say the year I wrote it. I want people to understand a progression. I'm not just, this isn't recent. I don't like going back and looking at old work because, one, it keeps me away from my current work or my current project. Two, when I look at old stuff, I sit there and say, well, now I would totally do everything different. And I see mostly just flaws and nothing good. Not that I don't see anything good, but I'm just saying, like, it's like the flaws are more glaring to me than the positives, whereas to other people, they might not see it. So it's not something I enjoy doing, but I realize it has to be done. And there's no point in going back and rewriting everything, because what's the point? That was what I did then. I like to leave things as what I was in that moment. So, because I can always later on, and I have, expand and elaborate more and take on a different approach. So I will have the link to that collection. If you want to check that out, it's linked to my books page. It's really hard, I will say, to market myself. I'm really the only one doing it on my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, which is not a lot, and then just the hopes that maybe some people can find it. But it's just all I can do, and I really just kind of put it on Amazon as sort of an archive. I just want to have things collectively assembled in one place. And so that was some observations I had as far as my noticing of flaws, my self-shaming, this whole like feeling like an asshole because I do speak out, but I'm like, I need to speak out. If I don't, then somebody else who might think the same is going to feel alone, and they're not going to know that someone else got them. And there's a part of me that just says, if you just sort of go along with it and you don't say anything, well, whose fault is that? But at the same time, I'm not someone who just wants to argue incessantly and pick fights. There's no point. So my approach is sort of like, I look to convincing people of the future. I can't convince people of today who think X, Y, Z, not to think that. That's not my goal, to get people to unthink what they already think. It's just trying to influence new generations or new readers that maybe have not been so indoctrinated by a lot of the crap that is put out by the main publishers. Really, they're just out to make a buck, and there's nothing wrong with that per se. I understand you have to make a buck, but at the same time, it's just when they deliberately keep out anything qualitative or inventive, they don't even know what that is. So when I see stuff that gets put out there and it's getting promoted, and it's clearly, this writer has about as much grace and elegance in the written word as a wet towel, it doesn't make me feel good, or I don't feel encouraged. But I have to say something. I'm not going to just be like, oh yeah, it's great, because I'm going to have some writer friends of mine going, are you crazy? Why did you say that? They'll know. They'll see through the bullshit, and I can't fake that. That would be stupid and fake. So anyway, I have a long weekend this weekend. Still have a couple more days off. I'm off Monday, which I'm looking forward to, and I've spent some days just being inside watching matinees, long movies, which I really miss doing, and I wish I could do more of it. But I'll have some more topics in the future. Just wanted to touch base and mention that collection that's available, and I can talk more about Enneagram stuff and observations I have in the future. So that's all I got. Thanks for listening.